Peace and light, family. I hope that you are well. I am the Queen Poe, and I am here with some of my sister queens, y'all. I am so excited. We are going to have a dope conversation for y'all. And I think y'all gonna like this topic. But before we get into it, I'm gonna give space and room for my beautiful, fabulous collective of sister queens to introduce themselves. Starting off with my sister queen, and y'all already know her, Miss Imani Latifa.
Hey fam, I've been on Zooms all day, but this is my favorite one. I hope you guys enjoy the topic because it's really important. We talk about holes in this house. There's some holes in this house, but for real, for real. But for real. So I'm Imani. Find me at Origichi or Sepia Kaleidoscope, and thank you guys for joining us.
Okay, next up, Sugar Bounce. Come on, girl.
Oh, hello everyone. I am Sugarbone Charvet, or Sugarbone Charvet on all my other socials. This is my first little Zoom call with the Queen Poe, and I am so honored and excited to talk about this topic.
Yes. Sugar Bounce, tell them what you do a little bit. What do you do? Who are you?
What do I do? Okay. Let's say I am a storyteller. I am a cartomancer of the playing cards. So, if you want a little reading, hit me up on one of my socials. Just let me know. What else do? I have big things coming up, but I don't want to speak on it just yet.
Keep it on the low. We respect it. Next up, we have my sister queen, Marquii.
Hello.
Ahead,
hey, so I'm Marquii, and I'm really looking forward to fellowship with my sisters and have some good conversation. I'm ready. Yes.
All right, and last but definitely not least, Miss O'Shea manifested herself.
Yes.
Joy, what's going on, Joy?
Peace and blessings, everybody. I'm nervous. All right. I'm nervous, but always happy to be in the presence of my beloveds. So let's get to it.
Absolutely. So y'all, just to give the community a little background, these my sister queens, y'all. We all come from a diverse background individually. We from all over Philly, Savannah, Atlanta, and a little bit of everywhere, New York. But what we have in common is that we are all alum of the beautiful, illustrious Savannah State University. So you are looking at the product of 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 Black queens from an HBCU. And we are here and we are present. And today we are talking about the Heaux Phase. The Heaux Phase. The Heaux Phase. Imani, cue the song one more time. What's the song one more time?
Holes in this house.
It's some holes in this house. Now, the question is the Heaux Phase necessary? But before we even get into answering the question, I think it's important that we define individually and as a collective, what is a hoe? Whoever want to jump in. What is a hoe to you?
Not everybody at once, right?
Think on it. You might need to marinate and meditate on that a little bit, but what is a hoe to you?
Right now, since we're coming into the call and we're warming up, it's kind of like, it's a sensitive thing because everybody does it, but nobody talks about it. It's kind of like an unwritten rule, especially if you tried and true with a brother and you tried and true with a brother, or another brother or sister or whatever.
So we speaking in code, what's tried and true? What that mean? I don't know what that mean.
You mess with the brother once and he didn't went out and was with somebody else, you had your self-esteem abused. Abused, is that the right word? You had your self-esteem abused. And you don't think you're pretty. Now you got to get your self-esteem back. So you want to be looked upon as beautiful, as manifested. You want to looked upon, and sometimes you don't feel like dealing with all that extra bullshit, so you just want to act. So I mean, pretty much. And Mom, if you're watching, hi. I'm just saying, like
Yeah.
sometimes you just want to get your shit on and not be emotionally involved. But why do we do that? What is that actually? What is that? Is that a made up thing? Is that what society has deemed for us to do? So
So a hoe to you is a person, an individual that just wants to get it on with no strings attached. Fucking with no
male
strings
or female, right?
Male or female,
Yeah.
or any gender identity. Fucking with no strings attached.
But I will say that it is so the world will deem you a hoe faster as a woman than a man. Even
okay now.
Okay
now.
Yeah.
Okay. Joy, to you, what is a hoe? Do you agree with that definition, or do you want to add a little something to it?
Okay. All right. I'm always the main one with the unpopular opinions, okay? Okay. So you know how like you use a word in one context and it means one thing, you use a word in another context, you use a hoe in another context and it means a different thing. That's my opinion about hoe. So for the context of this conversation, I guess I'm coming from more of a hoe is life perspective, which is just about liberation and freedom and agency and just kind of understanding your body and not feeling so confined by the societal definitions of female sexuality.
Now, so academic. Oh my God.
Because I'm like, she's saying liberated, freedom, and all of that. But what does that look like? Does liberation and freedom look like what Imani described, which is having sex with no strings attached?
Per the individual. Per the individual. You know what I'm saying? Now, I do have another definition of what a hoe is, but you let me know if you want to get into that.
I want that one too. We could throw that in the mix.
Okay. All right. So outside of the context of this conversation, if I was to call somebody a hoe, I'm talking about somebody who is fucking with an abandon, right? They are not handling the things that they need to do. They are out chasing ass. They are out chasing dick. They're not being responsible at all.
Okay.
Right.
So they reckless with it.
Right. You ain't raising your kids because you out here chasing a nigga. That is a hoe. It don't matter how many partners you had. You could sleep with 1,000 dudes. I may not necessarily call you a hoe, but if you're not handling the things that you need to be handling because of yeah, you a hoe.
Okay.
Yeah.
Marquii, to you,
so
what is a hoe?
So initially I kind of struggled with it because I didn't know if I thought of it as a good or a bad thing. And so first I have to ask myself, do I think of it as being a good or a bad thing? And honestly, I would have to say it's neutral because like Imani said, I feel like, yes, it's a phase where you're fucking with just, no strings attached basically. But if you are aware of yourself, you can do it responsibly. And if you aren't aware of yourself, it can lead to, destructive or toxic habits. So being a hoe, also like Joy said, being a hoe is life. You know what I mean? Whether you consider it to be a good thing or a bad thing, it's just a thing. And regardless, you have to govern that pussy regardless. You know what I'm saying?
Boom. Okay.
Yeah, big facts.
Okay, you got a Barack Obama to boom boom, be presidential about the boom boom. Okay. Sugar Bones. What's your definition of a hoe?
Honestly, I agree with most of what Marquis says. I think it is neutral, but I also think it's almost an elusive term, almost an enigma, right? Because hoe has been used in so many, I say, misapplied and misappropriated contexts. Like as a child, I saw hoe used against girls who were more developed than their peers. I've seen girls be called hoes years before they even knew what sex was. Like hoe is not, like Marquis was saying, it's a neutral term, but we have used it as a weapon, and like a seriously like incorrect weapon that we've used against like just all kinds of, what am I trying to say? But I feel like it is kind of an enigma because hoe is really, to me, like almost like Heaux is the bad girl, right? Like it's the bad girl that we don't want to acknowledge, because without them, what's the point of being a good girl? So Heaux has meant like
I like
development.
That. I like that.
I guess we all some bad girls then, huh?
Wait, hang on, y'all.
What I'm hearing overall is I'm gonna kind of put the definitions together a little bit so we can have a collective idea of where this conversation is flowing. Because again, the question is the Heaux phase necessary, right? Is the Heaux phase necessary? So a Heaux, for the sake of definition, is a person, an individual who is sexually exploring the world through their own lens and own experience with the intention of freedom, the intention of doing whatever it is that they want to do. And they are governing their pum-pum, or they're governing their private whatever they got going on according to what they decide. Fuck society, fuck rules, fuck what you say. I'm gonna do what I want, how I do it, and I'm gonna distribute my goodies how I want to distribute my goodies to as many people as I want to distribute it to. And I emphasize the as many people because, of course, I had to do a little bit of research, and I was Googling different terms of Heaux and how Heaux is used in different countries and all that good stuff. And the common ground was a person who sleeps with many people. That was the common ground across the world of this is what a Heaux is. But I think the real question is, what is the intention of a Heaux? And I feel like usually, and from what I'm hearing from y'all, is that the intention is usually I'm going to do what I want to do. And I'm governing myself, and I'm doing what I decide, no matter what society says or calls me, because as many of y'all pointed out, Heaux is often used as a weapon against people. And I feel like people who are embracing the Heaux are saying, I don't care about your weapons. I can take it. I'm going to do what I want to do and do what makes me feel good. So with that in mind, is the Heaux phase necessary is the question. And the reason I think this is such an important question is because, there are a lot of young folks, who are growing up, and they are seeing the city boys versus the city girls, and women and men, especially a lot more women embracing being on a Heaux shit, what I'm saying, and doing Heaux things, and they're seeing a lot more people embracing that sexual freedom and sexual liberation. I'm realizing through the eyes of my 19-year-old, about to be 20-year-old niece, shout out to Bam. Okay, I'm realizing through her eyes and her lens and watching her friend circle that Gen Z is so beyond sexually free. A lot of them are just out here living, baby. They living. And I feel like the whole embracing the Heaux phase is what is really like helping them live in a way that previous generations, including ours, the millennials and beyond, didn't really get a chance to live. I feel like millennials dabbled in it a little bit, but Gen Z, they said we deep diving in that whole shit. You know what I'm saying? Like we out here. And I don't know how to advise her. So I'm coming to the tribe and I'm asking y'all, is the Heaux phase necessary?
Hell yeah.
Now, I need you to break that down before I say my old people spill, but go ahead.
Go ahead, Marquis. Why you say hell yeah?
I definitely think it's necessary because, like you said, it's that time where you're exploring, you're able to, just kind of explore. So let me explain. Okay. So for instance, I noticed that for me, I feel like my Heaux phase started out a lot later in life, but I realized that I made a lot of stupid mistakes that those around me who started early were like, bitch, you fell for that? Like, you know what I mean? So I feel like it can be a learning experience. It can also be an experience of, you learning what you don't like. And sometimes through those hurtful experiences, that's how we know, that's how we get like that bar of like, yeah, I never want to go through this again. And so I kind of feel like because I got my start later in life, I learned those lessons a lot later in life. And those around me were like already beyond that and much more, you know, advanced in that aspect. So that's why I say it's very necessary, because you got to learn. You know, you got to learn. And thankfully, you know, I had people around me to kind of like, you know, guide me a little bit. So, you know, yeah.
So you feel like you learned what not to fall for by falling for it during your whole phase and realizing like, oh, this ain't it. And then
yeah, because it's some shit that you don't understand until you get that first love. It's some shit you ain't gonna understand till you get that first. You know what I mean? Nobody can tell you how that feeling is. Nobody can tell you what you'll do for that one person. So it's some things that you're just gonna have to learn from going through it, like, or else you're not gonna understand like that lesson. Yeah, you can learn it, but I feel like it wouldn't be as impactful as like going through it. You know what I mean?
So I want to ask a clarifying question. During your whole phase, first off, 2 clarifying questions. Question 1, you say you started a little later. Around what age would you say your whole phase started?
Definitely, I would say like after college. Like after college. So like 2014, 2015. Definitely. So I was like, how old was I? I was like 24, 25.
That ain't late. Lord have mercy.
No, no. In comparison to other, I grew up in Savannah, Georgia. So I remember being the only, you get what I'm saying, the only virgin in high school. You understand what I'm saying? So, you know, in my environment, that was like a big thing because a lot of girls, you know, are active like around 13 down here.
Yeah, I had friends that was in their whole phase when we was in 8th grade. You know,
facts. Yes,
I had friends pregnant in 8th grade.
Yeah. Okay, so my second question for you, Marquis, was you said that, you know, through your whole phase, you learned kind of like what not to fall for, you know, by falling for the foolishness. Do you feel like you had to go through it yourself personally? Were you a person who people could tell you, girl, don't do that, don't fall for that, but you was like, nah, I'm gonna touch that stove anyway?
Somewhat.
Okay.
Like somewhat, but also like the things that I'm talking about are like more so of the emotional things, like not realizing how, you know, how you can look on the outside looking in and you be like, how could she fall for that? And then you one day, you know, you fall in love, and one day you look around and be like, oh, I see how she fell for that. Let me get right. So not saying that I was, you know what I mean? It's just like you don't recognize the things that lead up to the, you know, the big things. And then and when it's emotional, you know, sometimes you need to feel that. Now, if you're wise and if you have a good support system and a good tribe, like I had a dope ass mom, you get what I'm saying? So, you know, I recognize the precursors, if you will, you know what I mean? But it was still like, damn, how did I get this far, you know, with the bullshit, you know what I mean? So yeah, that's what
I think that was real. Like, I appreciate that transparency, because a lot of sisters wouldn't admit that. You know what I'm saying? A lot of sisters won't admit that they had to fall for some foolishness in order to learn and to realize so that they could do better in the future. And you did that through your whole phase. Joy, for you, how do you feel? Is the whole phase necessary?
okay, I do. And I like the juxtaposition that you made against the generations, because I think that will help my point. You know, I'm a millennial, you know, and I grew up like the later part of my childhood in a very religious kind of household. And I really tried to be a good Christian. Like I really tried, like I put forth effort. Okay. But it felt very repressive to me, you know, and just understanding the contradictions of female sexuality is difficult to juggle those contradictions, right? And so personally, the whole phase for me did become necessary, right? I'm like Marquis. I started later than that. Okay. Mine started at age 30 after a long relationship. Okay.
Yeah.
I was hoping that you put that out there after a long relationship.
After a long relationship.
Okay.
What? Okay. Money talking about true. Anyway, anyway, and I feel like the Heaux phase really was kind of like the polar opposite of monogamy and commitment. It was the polar opposite, and it kind of felt like a bending the stick back straight kind of a deal. You know what I'm saying? So it's kind of twofold, you know, kind of overcoming some of that repressive things that I had internalized about my own self, you know what I'm saying? Kind of shaking off the fetters of those things, you know what I'm saying? And really just kind of acknowledging myself and what I wanted. And, you know, now I wasn't wild.
Okay.
I wasn't wild. Okay. It was probably mild, okay, in comparison to some other people, but it was.
She had a couple toes in the whole pool. She wasn't, you know,
fully submerged.
You know, we was waist deep, you know, but it was fun, you know.
He was on the coochie deep in the whole pool.
That's it. That's all, right? And I feel like what was probably the most beneficial was being able to see my own reflection in other people. Because when you've been in a long relationship, it feels kind of static. Like this is how things are, you know? And so when you start to see your own reflection in other people, like, oh no, that was, oh, see, I thought that was his bullshit. That's my bullshit. You know what I'm saying? Oh no, that's my behaviors. Oh no, that is how I react and respond. It wasn't just because he did X, Y, and Z, right? That's me. And then really kind of having to deal with those things. You know what I'm saying? Kind of seeing myself. And also, all of my relationships in my Heaux phase were not sexual. I was just entertaining a lot of niggas.
Joy,
Okay.
wait. This is a lot, okay? I'm so grateful for you, Joy. Because see, what I don't think people realize, and you know, to my young folks who are watching this, or even if you are older and you are connected to young folks in some way, you got nieces, nephews, children, cousins, whoever, you know, and you don't feel comfortable, you know, sharing your personal stuff with them. This is what this conversation is for. You send them this video and say, here, watch these sisters talk, okay? Because you are looking at sisters with various experiences. Joy is a sister who, again, you know, I was watching a podcast and these guys was like, you know, I'd rather a woman go through her Heaux phase when she young. You know, he was like, I'd be embarrassed when I see a woman who's 30 or 40 and she in her Heaux phase. But you don't know that sister's history. You know what I'm saying? Joy is a sister who was in a relationship throughout her entire 20s and loyal to a nigga throughout her entire 20s. The relationship ended. And she just talked about how she moved into her Heaux phase. And correct me if I'm wrong, Joy, but the lesson I'm learning from your experience is some of the things that you thought were the issue in your relationship because of him, when you went through your Heaux phase and you started, you know, interacting with different men, you realized that, oh, that was me because this problem came with me. I left him, but the problem came with me to him and him and him. So maybe
not even just that, but just like my reactions, how I'm responding, how I'm doing things, how I'm dealing with things. I'm thinking that, oh, because I'm dealing with you and you act this way, I'm responding this way to you. But it's like, no, that's just how I respond. You know what I'm saying? And some of that ended up just kind of being a consequence of being in that relationship. This is how I respond to people now because of, you know, what I learned and what I went through in that relationship, and really kind of just seeing myself. You know what I'm saying? It really kind of just seeing myself reflected, you know.
We got two big Heaux phase lessons. Okay. So Marquii lesson was she learned what not to tolerate, what not to fall for. She learned the ins and outs of dealing with, you know, these guys. By going through her Heaux phase. Joy talked about how she was able to see her reflection and see herself beyond just sex, but also, correct me if I'm wrong, Joy, but also emotionally and mentally and how you interacted in situations.
That's a fact. Yeah, because like I was saying, all of my situations were not physical. Just was entertaining a lot of dudes, okay?
Mhm.
A lot. Okay.
And
Right.
There's quite a few of them. So,
Mhm.
but yeah.
I like that. I like that. Sugar Bones, is the Heaux phase necessary?
So I feel like not only is the Heaux phase necessary, but I feel like it's inevitable.
Facts.
So y'all know I tend to be kind of quiet, kind of like absorbing everything. And what I have noticed is like the people who lost their fucking minds either in college or later in life, the preacher's kid or a recently divorced woman.
Mm.
Them
Yeah.
two,
Yep.
like,
Yep. Yep.
now, that aside, from my own experience, so, you know, I also started late. You know, I came from a very religious background. I didn't have sex for, no, I don't say I lost anything. I had sex for the first time when I was 24. My whole phase started around 25. And like Joy mentioned, like all of them weren't, you know, sexually involved. For me to come from a very religious background, I was blessed with a mother that sat me down and taught me like all the little girly anatomy, you know, everything like that. And I was also encouraged to pleasure myself. Like, because in her mind, she would rather, you know, do that than be out here, you know, going crazy. Right.
Yeah.
I mean, I was, you know, kind of still told I'd go to hell if I had sex before marriage, but you know, that aside, like, you know, comparatively, that was pretty progressive, right?
Very.
And so my thing was I knew just about everything about sex, but not sensuality, not sexuality. And so when my whole phase started around like 25, 27-ish, but when my whole phase started, I was more finding out what I actually like rather than the actual just deed, right? Like what turns me on actually? What do I like to give? What do I like to receive? And then like the whole phase isn't, like mentioned earlier, is not about sex. Sometimes it's about, you know, conversation. Like y'all know sorry if you're watching, parents and family and loved ones, but I call myself the rainbow fucker of the group, right? Like there were a couple, you know, there was that year where I was dating interculturally, interracially, and, you know, finding out different aspects from that and learning officially men are men and men are going to men. But so I definitely feel like, you know, of course, like we did earlier, define whole for yourself. But I do feel like the whole phase is inevitable.
Okay, all right. Imani Latifa, is the whole phase that you've been waiting, sis. I put you on hold because I felt like Imani had she was ready. Okay.
I'm glad.
Is the whole phase necessary?
I'm glad because you know I am not a millennial. Joy told me I was. I am a 7th child, thank God. You know, so my for the last.
Imani, your mic is a little low, sis. If you could just move closer. Do you have headphones?
Can you hear me now?
Yeah.
Is that better?
It's just, yeah, it's a little better. It's just kind of low, but go ahead.
Okay. If it stays low, I'll switch out and do the cell phone a little bit in a second. So, but you can hear me though, right?
Yeah.
Okay. You know, I've never had a whole stage. I don't know what you guys are talking about. I mean, this is all new news to me. Like, you know.
Imani, I thought we had Imani on the call. Is Imani on the call?
I don't even know. Like, you know.
I'm just trying to hide our facial reactions.
I don't think I put the right sister in. Let me resend you the link because I don't think I got the right sister.
She forgetting some of us know her. Okay, that's
let me put my mask on so people can see.
I am representing the ones who are in denial, right?
Oh, okay.
But as the resident elder of the group, you know, one might slip in and out of a whole stage for the rest of your life. I'm just saying, who who defines sexuality within women? And I find that a lot of times it's not women who are defining it. It's always somebody else policing these terms on us. Whole stage, bitch, whatever. Y'all know how much I hate bitch. You know, I do not call Black women or any women that. But I feel like, you know, I have been put in so many situations where I have been accused of being a hoe, accused of being in some Negro face, accused, you know. Sometimes I might have been guilty. So the fuck what? You know what I'm saying? But at the end of the day, the lessons that I've learned are so much with everything you all are saying. And real talk, still learning lessons about what I like, what I don't like. And at this age, and this point in my life, in the age of 40 plus, I know that at this point, there's some shit I can't tolerate. Period. I cannot tolerate it. But I understand you being in the Heaux phase. But now that I'm seeing it more and more, it's always been men who have been the ones who have been in the Heaux. It's always been them. And we try to be this illusion of this good girl until, you know, you turn off that switch. It's like the whole vampire movies. Like you turn off that emotional switch, and now bitches just out here fucking and they don't care. You know what I'm saying? Hi, mom. Everybody, you know, but real talk, it's just one of those things that, like Sugar said, it's inevitable because of how society has thrown these things on us. But at the same time, what we really, really want is that solid relationship. That's what women desire. We really desire that. You cannot tell me, you know, because as you all know, we have cried on the shoulders of each other. You know, maybe not you, Queen Poe. You out here, you know, G'ing it up, but we all have stories about how, you know, ain't shit dudes come and then we still deal with them niggas. Oh my God, we still deal with them. I, for one, have had serious issues with detaching myself from relationships. Me being a Cancer, I am very good at maintaining relationships that I should have been did it. Because in my mind, I might want a Heaux phase later. You know what I'm saying? But not in a sense of anything that's like a sexual encounter. It's, for me, it's kind of like access or something like that. Access to people who can do things for me, and not necessarily in a sense where like we in the corner or it's a sexual thing. Because I think after a while that kind of just fades out because you learn and you learn what you like. And then I'll give you a prime example. Brother who I was dealing with my time in grad school, I am not going to say his name. He's a truck driver. Hi, truck driver. And so I really was in tune to really kind of settling. I really was like, okay, he's dope. You know, he seems like a decent dude. I'm gonna try it. But I was in a phase where maybe I wanted to have a family and he had children and he didn't want to have, you know, a family. So I went on my way. He went on his way. We still remain friends. So, and I'm sorry to call him out like this, but I got to say that. So because he went through his whole stage, yes, he did. Because it happens to all of us. He done got some Bama girl pregnant and is fucking miserable because he went through a whole stage and the nigga was not responsible. The niggas, I'm gonna say niggas because we don't use that word here. The king, he was not responsible. So now you have a baby on the way because you went through this whole stage and you were irresponsible. And the flip side is like, you know, having the conversation, maybe we could work it out. No. What could we work out? That's my story and I'm sticking to it. You know what I'm saying?
So for you, would you title the Heaux phase as necessary, but only if you're responsible?
either way, whether you necessary or not, because of we being such emotional beings, and especially after COVID, dealing with touch deprivation, dealing with all these different challenges, ain't nobody out here being responsible. So many babies was born. We not like so many things have happened to us. We all out here just humping on trees. Okay. So this is the outcome. I would say personally, I think you should be responsible, but the reality is that's just not a reality. That's what I'm saying.
Okay. For me personally, me, myself, and I feel that the Heaux phase is necessary, but what is the Heaux phase for you? What I had to realize was that my definition and how I governed myself, my Heaux phase looked different than what some of my friends' Heaux phase look like. Some of my friends' Heaux phase look like, much like what Shug and Joy spoke on. I grew up in a very conservative family, you know, very religiously diverse, but all the religions were conservative religions. Okay. Very conservative. The way we dressed, everything conservative. So I wasn't even aware of my body. And like, you know, I was a tomboy all through high school. I too, like Marquii, was a virgin all through high school and was ashamed of it because all of my friends, as far as they said, were not virgins. But I was such a tomboy and I was just not into sex like that. You know what I'm saying? It just wasn't on my radar like that, you know. But the thing was, I thought like, you know, whatever, I'll get to it when I get to it. When I got to college, I lost my virginity, or not. I like what Shug said, where you didn't lose anything. You know, I made a conscious decision and had sex for the first time in college. And after that, I was like, okay, they say in college, you're supposed to do this. I ended up in a relationship. Okay, so long-term relationship. Broke up with him. I did a year of celibacy because I believe in like detoxing the body and cleansing the body of energy. So I did a year of celibacy, and then I was like, all right, Heaux phase, boom, let's go. Had sex, ended up in another relationship.
Because you was doing it wrong, baby. You was doing it wrong.
You know, and
that's not how you do it.
I'll never forget, y'all. I called myself like, this one was supposed to be, I was like, this is gonna be my first one night stand. And then we was on the phone 2 days later, like, I love you. And my roommate was like, girl, that ain't how one night stand works, bitch. Like, you ain't you fucking up the game, you know. But that's what it was for me. I would, you know, have the idea that I'm gonna have a Heaux phase, meet somebody, end up building a relationship with them. So I turned into more of like a serial monogamous. And when I was in a relationship, I'm practicing celibacy. And that's just how it has been for me. And I remember being shamed by people around me for not having what they felt like was the Heaux phase. They like, girl, you need to go out, you need to sleep with more people, you need to do that, you need to explore, you need to yada, 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 yada. And even when I was single in between relationships, I never had the desire to have sex with multiple people. I'm just not a casual sex person. My philosophy, I used to always say, look, you could be a hoe with one nigga. You know what I'm saying? Like, I'd rather be a hoe with my dude. I want to be a freak with my dude. I don't want to be a freak with multiple people, because I feel like all the lessons that you can learn from the Heaux phase, as far as physically, you know, all the physical lessons you can learn from a Heaux phase, as far as like what you physically like, and you know how to what makes you come and not come, orgasms and all that stuff. I feel like you can learn and explore that with one person. You know, to me, that's how I felt. And my Heaux phase looked like being in monogamous 2 to 3 year relationships and doing whatever I wanted to do within them relationships, which I think You know, I think it's important because what I realized through another friend, and Marquis, you know what I'm talking about. I realized through another friend who she had only had sex with one person, and she looked down on sisters who slept with a lot of people. And I had to tell her, I said, sis, we done been slutted out, sis. Like, you can't. Yeah, you've been slutted out by one dude, but he done been up all through every hole, sis. Like, you can't look down at another. That sister could be sleeping with 15 dudes and be doing missionary and back shots with the 15 dudes. Girl, you done been broke down by one dude in multiple locations. Sis. You done did things that we ain't never heard of, sis. You are not exempt. You was a hoe with your dude. You know what I'm saying? You were sexually free and sexually liberated with your dude. So to me, do I feel like a Heaux phase is necessary? Absolutely. But I feel like the Heaux phase can look different for different people. And that's why when I was looking up the definition of Heaux, I realized that like, oh, okay. Some people consider, like, for the most part, a Heaux is a person who slept with many people. And I was like, well, dang, maybe I didn't experience the Heaux phase like I thought I did. Like, you know, but at the same time, I feel like I feel like I'm a consistent hoe. You know what I'm saying? I feel like
I'm a question, sis.
Yeah, what's up?
How many is many?
And that's the question to me. That's a good one. Because I'll speak from my personal experience. I'm still on one hand as far as partners. I'm still on one hand.
On.
So that's because, but again, started in college, serial monogamous. So for me, I'm still on one hand. But what have I sexually done? Some whole shit. You know what I'm saying?
So I feel like with Manny is man. So I feel like one could be too many if it's done wrong. It's not many. You know what I mean? So one could be too many. Like, come on, like one, you get one bad apple could spoil a bunch, okay?
Indeed,
and if your first one ain't did it right, you gotta try. You know what I mean? So yeah, one could be too much, you know.
What about y'all? What do y'all think? What do y'all think is many partners? Is there a number to y'all?
I remember by the time I got to 3, I was just like, yo, what you doing with your life, sis? Like, for real? Three different people? I mean, sheesh.
But see, I think that's the conservative background because 3 is not a lot. Y'all, I remember when y'all, literally.
And it is.
I was in high school, me and my cousins, I ain't gonna say no name, I got lots of cousins. Me and 2 of my cousins was laying up in the bed, having a little girls' night in high school, and they was like, girl, you need to start having sex. And then they telling me all the stuff that they did. And then they both was like, let's make a list of all the dudes we slept with. Y'all, they filled up the paper front and back. 40 plus names, and they were still in high school. You know what I'm saying? So, and I'm that's no shame or no shade, because again, I don't shame or shade sisters who have had multiple people, because again, you may have had multiple people, I may have had a few people, but we probably done a lot of the same things. You know what I'm saying? And this, I could be getting slutted out 3 times a day by one person. You getting slutted out 3 times a day by 3 different people. What's the damn difference? We both get slutted out 3 times a day. You know what I'm saying? Like, there's a little difference though, but you know.
I kind of got a question for that question then. Like, in addition to how many is many, like, what does it mean to have had someone? Like, are we you said front shots, back shots, are we including head? Are we including, a little handy J? Like, what is, I'm just saying.
I feel like, to me, it's anything where penetration is involved. Penetration of a hole. A hand don't count. We grown. You know what I'm saying? Hand on the.
That's a fact. That's a fact, yeah.
But it's crazy. It's crazy because I remember when I was in middle school, and there was this girl that was known for giving phone sex. And so like all the little boys would call her and they would get phones, you know what I mean? And so she was a hoe. So I feel like it's any level of intimacy that you sharing with somebody. Like I feel like, I don't know, you know what I mean? It has to be more than just like physical contact sometimes.
Yeah, and I think that goes back to what Joy was saying, where like, your Heaux phase doesn't always have to include having sex with someone. Now, I definitely, y'all know I will talk to a nigga in a minute. You know what I'm saying? Like I'm gonna play the field now. Okay, I'm gonna play the field. I'm a serial dater. Okay, I will play the field. I will date. I'll have conversations. I'm a flirt. I'll lay up in the bed with you. I'll do everything. But you know what I'm saying? Like that's y'all know I like to play. You know what I'm saying? But that's also to me a part of my Heaux phase, and that's why I like that we're talking about how the Heaux phase doesn't always have to include just sex. The Heaux phase can be a mental connection, a spiritual connection, a physical connection, because at the end of the day, sex is the sacred energy exchange. And that physical penetration and that physical connection is one way to exchange that energy. But anytime you're interacting with someone in an intimate way, that is, to me, a part of the Heaux phase. And I do feel like that is necessary. I do, for all the reasons that y'all named, I feel like it's necessary for you to understand what you like and don't like physically. So what Marquis was saying, what you like and don't like mentally and spiritually, and what you ain't gonna tolerate and what you are gonna tolerate from whoever you're dealing with. What Joy was saying, so that you can be able to see yourself and see how you deal with certain things. You know what I'm saying? So I do think for all of those reasons, the Heaux phase is necessary. But I want to bring in what Marquis and Imani was kind of saying, which is the aspect of like how you govern yourself. So if you are, because imagine a young sister, Joy, your niece is watching this, and she's saying, okay, whatever they say do is what I'm going to do. How would y'all say you should govern yourself through your Heaux phase?
All right. Well, since you mentioned my baby, which sidebar, y'all, she came home from school the other day, all excited because two boys, not one, two boys had came to her that day and told her that they liked her, right? She was excited, y'all. She came home and told everybody, including her daddy too. But that's another conversation, right? And it definitely did get me to thinking like, okay, all right, you know what I'm saying? How do we approach this? How do we have these conversations? My mom was also not quite as progressive as D'Amber's mother, or excuse me, Sugar's mother, but quite progressive, right? And so it's just about being open and honest. I'm gonna tell mine, she asked me, there is nothing off limits. Nothing is off the table. You know what I'm saying? Try to keep everything age appropriate, but we'll talk about anything. You know what I'm saying? That's what helped me through my teenage years. You know what I'm saying? Because my mom pretty much told me what it was like being a teenager, being sexually active, having pregnancy scares in high school, having her first child, graduating in the summer, having a baby in the next winter, you know what I'm saying? Or the next spring, you know what I'm saying? And so because she was so open and so honest, a lot of stuff them little boys couldn't tell me.
Yeah.
They just could not tell me. You know what I'm saying? It just didn't matter. And if they did tell me something, and I could go home and say, hey, yo, old dude said XYZ. Mom be like, nah, bro, no, this is what it is, and then I could go back and not only put him on game, but put my sister friends on game too. Like, y'all don't listen to him. He's stupid. My mama said, you know what I'm saying? And so that would be the same thing, just always keeping an absolute open and honest dialogue. But the way that you govern yourself is the same way you always govern yourself. You know what I'm saying? With safety and with dignity. You know what I'm saying? Don't just be out here, you know what I'm saying? And when I say wild, and I don't mean like, your freak level, but you know what I'm saying? There's just some stuff that's just not safe. It's just some things that are just not safe. And so, guard yourself from unsafe behaviors. And I will say this, whatever emotional and mental issues that you have in, multiple partners don't necessarily exacerbate that. You be single, losing your damn mind. You could be in a relationship with one dude, losing your damn mind. Okay. So you always got to be prioritizing your mental and spiritual health, regardless of who you're dealing with. Right. But just be safe, be safe and ask questions. You know what I'm saying? Lean on your tribe, lean on your elders. You know what I'm saying? Yeah.
If I may jump in, I feel like and I gotta say this because it's like spirit is telling me, I feel like a lot of times the way we even practice the whole aspect of sex and relationship is like how the colonizers have. And so we identify things like how white people have chosen to love and have lost that aspect, because I don't think into the 1970s where we were socialized, where the men were being taken out of the home, and then you have these women left with all these children, and now you're looking for a man to kind of come into your life, and you go through all these phases. But I just feel like I don't even know, like, especially at this point in my life, like, it's so easy to just sleep around with just different people. That's easy. The hard and challenging part is for men and women to really like come together and be, you know, solid and be focused. And not necessarily, because I mean, if you want what you want and if you're ready to work at it, it's gonna work if you're ready. But I feel like at the same time, for women and men, and just speaking from a woman's perspective, it's kind of, if you're kind of in this like phase where you're like just wanting to just have these intimate sessions with, you know, different people, it can be so draining. You know what I mean? And it's like, how do you come back from that? And if it's necessary, to what aspect of necessary? Like, you've seen what it does, especially with millennials. Like when I was little, we didn't have social media. We had no idea. You knew where somebody was because everybody bikes at somebody's house. And so after a while with social media, you have access to everything all the time, 24/7. Whereas 25, 30 years ago, you did not, you know? So now it's kind of like, what is it for? What is the whole phase for? Like, once we to know what we don't like, we already seeing it. So what is it really for? That's kind of my question.
Already seeing it though, because see, like when I think about the from what we just discussed, and you know, what we hear, a lot of people say through their whole phase, they learned a lot about themselves, you know, by going out here and experiencing, especially when it comes to, let's be real, like sexual pleasure. You could be with one person and learn yourself for the most part with one person. But if you ain't tried different things and different sizes and different, you know, how do you really know what it is that you truly, truly, deeply enjoy?
So is it a whole phase or is it dating? I'm just.
Is there a difference?
Is there a difference?
Dating is a part of the whole phase.
Yeah.
Dating is a part of the whole phase.
Yeah.
You know, I think like from what we said at the beginning about like the, you know, it's the whole phase can clearly look so many different ways. It could be sex with no strings attached. It could be, you know, having sex with many people. Sometimes having sex with strings attached and learning that you need to detach some of them strings. And, you know, the whole phase could look so many different ways. I think what it really comes down to is about freedom and exploration without societal standards. And since I definitely feel where you coming from, Imani, when it comes to like, you know, colonization and us being taught how to love through a colonizer's lens. However, I will challenge that and say that we don't love through a colonizer's lens. We label through a colonizer's lens.
That's a fact.
We label Hoe through a colonizer's lens. We label that as a negative thing through a colonizer's lens. We say that you don't have the right to love multiple people or to explore multiple people or date multiple people, especially if you are Black, especially if you are a woman. You do not have the right. That is a negative thing if you do that. You know what I'm saying? I think that the label is through a colonizer's lens, and that's what we talk about, like societal standards. So to me, when someone is, you know, consciously, because I think that's the big difference, consciously being in your whole phase versus unconsciously. I feel like when you are being an unconscious hoe, that means that you are just moving through the world with trauma and you're trying to heal yourself using sex. You're trying to heal your trauma using sex. You're trying to heal your lack of feeling worthy or your lack of esteem through sex. But when you are a conscious and aware hoe and you know what you got going on and you know what you're doing, I feel like you are a person who you are consciously choosing that I am going to take my mind, my spirit, and my body, and I am going to open it up and receive and give as I choose.
Come
I'm
on.
laughing at you, but I'm just kind of thinking about Bella Reese. I'm an honest hoe.
You know, because that's like my advice to the young folk, and really to anybody watching this, anybody who is, because I don't care if you 20, 30, 40, 50, 60, it ain't never too late to sexually and intimately explore this world. It's never too late to do that. So anybody who's watching this, my advice on how to govern yourself through your whole phase is to be conscious about it, be aware about it. It's an energy exchange again. So you have to be mindful to self-preserve. You are opening up your energy, you are giving, and you are receiving. So self-preserve. I advise detoxing through the whole phase. Sometimes take a break from the whole phase. Make sure that you are aware of the energy that you are exchanging. Be conscious about what you're giving and what you're receiving through the whole phase. Above all, I will never forget a lesson my mama taught me. Was, if you can't stand in the middle of the street and scream it, don't do it, because somebody gonna find out, period. Ain't no secrets in the whole phase. Ain't no keep it on the low in the whole phase. I don't care what nobody told you. Somebody out there know what you did. I don't care how on the low you think it is. It's somebody out there watching this video like, yeah, I done had her. It was me. I'm the one. Like, it's somebody know what you did. So mama used to say, if you can't stand in the middle of the street, don't do it. Because what happens in the dark is gonna come to light. Right. But your whole phase, don't be so focused on moving quietly. Don't be so focused on moving secretly. You know what I'm saying? Because be a proud hoe is what I'm saying. Be proud about it. Okay, embrace it. Embrace it. And if you feel like you can't embrace it, then maybe deep down inside, that's not something you really want to do. Maybe you need to transform what hoe looks like for you. Because what I had to realize, as I said in the beginning, was what hoe looked like for my friends didn't look like hoe for me. I was I was having the same experiences and the same outcome as far as like understanding myself physically, getting to know myself mentally, and how I connect. And like Marquis said, learning what to tolerate and not tolerate. I was learning that through serial monogamy. You know what I'm saying? And exploring with my partners, but that's what it looked like for me. What does the whole phase look like for you? So define it for yourself, be a conscious hoe and be an honest hoe. Marquis, how would you say someone should govern it? What advice would you give about governing yourself through the whole phase?
I would definitely recommend like opening up a line of communication with somebody you trust. Like, have somebody that you feel comfortable with, like being open with. Like, have somebody that you are comfortable being open with, because I feel like although, a whole phase is necessary, if you have, like, for me, I was raised in a very conservative household where, I felt like I couldn't go to my mom and say like, hey, I'm having this feeling, and this boy said this to me and blah, 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 blah. What does this mean? Like, I didn't have that. So with my experiences, a lot of those experiences had to be firsthand for me. But I feel like if I was to have somebody my age or like an older sister or somebody to like kind of put me up on game, or somebody that I felt comfortable with, like I could have, gotten the knowledge secondhand, but I would definitely just try to like, don't just go through your whole phase on your own, basically. Get an elder. Just get somebody.
Yeah. Get an elder.
Like, definitely get you a tribe, like get you, like, and this is what I've applied to my business as well. Like, the people that I align myself with are people that I learn something from, or people that I look up to. So And from that, you are able to get a wealth of knowledge and just, great advice. So I just like, don't be out here on your own. Because a lot of times I feel like the people that make mistakes are the girls that are like on their own, that like are out here because they have been shunned by society. Like when you feel like nobody understands, that's where the problems and the issues come in. So I just feel like as long as you have that community and that safe place and like that openness and comfortability with somebody, 1 to 2 people, like you're good. Absolutely. If they're good influences now, you know what I mean? Everybody can, you know what I mean? But I'm just saying.
Yeah, no, I feel you. I think that's excellent advice. Get you a whole elder, an elder. Exactly.
Elder.
No, but for real, something I want us to touch on real quick before we go, because Imani kind of brought it up in the beginning, as far as like, the perception of men versus women when it comes to the Heaux phase. And I think it's important for us to touch on this simply because, we talked about what is a Heaux. We talked about, is the Heaux phase necessary, how to govern yourself through the Heaux phase, regardless of who you are, but really to the sisters, but regardless how to govern yourself through the Heaux phase. I think it's important to talk about how to overcome the societal expectations and the standards of society as you move through your Heaux phase. How to move through your Heaux phase shamelessly. Because that standard of, men could do what they want and they cool, but if you do it as a woman, you a hoe, that weighs a lot. So what advice would y'all give, or what's y'all opinion on moving through the Heaux phase shamelessly in the midst of those standards? And that double standard, really.
I think what you said is key. Like if you can't say it in the middle of the street, don't do it. And that involves becoming self-aware. Like before you put stuff into action, you need to think about it up here first. Like before you even, decide like this is what I want to do. Like I feel like if people focus on moving with intention, I feel like that's the base. Like in order to even move with intention, what you have to first identify what it is that you're trying to achieve. And so everything just starts from like self-awareness. So I feel like first click on that first, you know what I mean? And from there, you're able to know like, okay, this is what I can stand on. And if you can stand on it, who cares? You get what I'm saying? Like, who the fuck cares? Like, you know what I mean? Yeah. As long as you care about it, that's, hey.
I like it. That remind me of in college where there was a sister in college who she had a sex tape had leaked.
Yeah.
And she was, in the sex tape, basically keeping it real. She was getting a train ran on her by some guys from the school, some popular guys from the school. And when I say that sister stood on it, that sister was like, I did that, and okay, and like, what's up, and they still look at my phone, they still coming back, like what, and she literally had to walk around campus knowing that people had that tape on their phone and was watching it and sharing it and all of that. We was in an organization together, and she walked in the room and they was talking about it when she walked in the room, and she was like, yep, and let me tell y'all how it went down, like proud about it, so that's what I was like, girl, who gonna check you, boo? Who gonna check you?
And she brought energy. She transmuted that.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
So what would y'all say, Joy, Shug, Imani, about how to move through your Heaux phase shamelessly in the midst of societal double standards?
Well, I feel like, and to piggyback back off of what you said before about it being consciously done, right? Once you're conscious, you're not worried about those types of things, those types of societal standards and double standards and just the contradictions of female sexuality. They're not governing your actions and your perceptions, right? And so I think just by the very practice of having a Heaux phase really is you challenging society. right? Challenging those societal contradictions. I feel like that's what you're doing. You know what I'm saying? If you're being conscious about it. Now, if you're being unconscious about it, then nah. But, you know, yeah, but if you're making a decision, like, yeah, I'm not going to worry about that. Like, I'm not going to feel like that no more. I'm going to walk into my own power. I'm going to exercise my own agency. This is what I want to do. All that other shit is null and void.
Joy made it sound like a Marvel character. Captain Heaux.
Right.
Standards. You know Shug, what would you say about moving through the double standards shamelessly?
Like y'all have mentioned, like move consciously, be healthy, move wisely, move safely, and all of that. And also kind of to go along with what the sister, you know, y'all were talking about, hope, you know, step into it. That's honestly an attitude I've adopted since this whole pandemic thing. Like, if I go out and I don't feel at my cutest, my first thought is, who gonna beat my ass? Wow. Just because my outfit don't match, who's gonna fight me? I've been waiting for a moment to go psycho. Who gonna beat my ass? So that's one of the ways to move through life. Like, yes. Okay, they talking, they whispering, they making these little sub tweets or whatever, but who's going to do something? Because if you want to,
what you want,
right? But yes, move consciously, be healthy, be wise.
Love
you
that.
know, get a license to curry. But yes, hold on to your power and know that you are your only competition. Like all them little words behind your back, like all of that, like no, you are your only competition. Like you are your highest, you know, judgment. Like how you feel. If you're somebody that can move in this way consciously, then like y'all was saying, all that other shit is null and void.
I like that. Imani, for you, you know, you was talking about, you know, is it really necessary? Like, is it really necessary? Like, really deeply questioning, is it really necessary? How do you feel?
Well, it's kind of like this for me at this point in my life, from what I know. Sociologists, and please forgive me for being academic, but I gotta say this. Sociologist Patricia Hill Collins has that term, the mammy, the Jezebel, the asexual woman, right? And so these are all connotations, me and my words, connotations that are thrown at Black women. And so for me, I just don't think it is no such thing as a Heaux phase, but just a phase as being a Black woman in the system. Because we have all these expectations that's put on us to be sometimes the Jezebel, to be sometimes the mammy, and to be sometimes the asexual, and they're all considered hoes. So I feel like all of you got said as far as being responsible and being aware and speaking to the elder women and men, because the elder men be schooling you on some shit too, that you have to listen to. We cannot not leave them out of the phase. But I just think that it's no such thing as a Heaux phase, but because we're here, it's inevitable. Like Sugar was saying, it's inevitable. And so hopefully what we learn from that is some things of who we be, what we like, sensuality, because, you know, men are beautiful, women are beautiful. And you could be with this fine dude and see another fine dude, and the emotions and things start happening, and you start turning all red and shit. And these things start, and just, you know, things be going on. But it's kind of like phases and stages within the life of being a Black woman in this space. So that's kind of my take on it. And everything else that the beautiful goddess said. So yeah.
I love that. I feel like that was the stamp on it. That was the stamp on it. That, you know, there really is there really is not a thing of a Heaux phase necessarily. It's just being a woman and being human. Especially, we got another sister queen, Kelly, who couldn't be with us today. But she was like, don't forget to talk about the patriarchal society, and in this patriarchal society where men ain't really hoes, you know what I'm saying? Or hoe is used different from men. When we talk about a man being a hoe ass nigga, we usually talk about him being soft. We usually talk about him not living up to the manly expectations and the masculine stereotypes. He a hoe ass nigga. You know what I'm saying? So when we speak about a man being a hoe, it's very different. And I think what Imani is saying is that in this society, according to what they define as a hoe, all women is hoes. You know what I'm saying? We all, the life of a woman is whole life. You know what I'm saying? And in this conversation, when we speaking about the Heaux phase, we're talking about openly exploring before you settle down in one monogamous relationship, if that's what you choose. You know what I'm saying? If that's what you choose, and even within that relationship, you still might be on some whole shit. You know what I'm saying? As far as exploring, like
husbands. I mean, are you wrong?
Right. Like I said, being a hoe for your partner. You know what I'm saying?
Y'all might be swingers.
Swinger, your man might be a cuckold. Okay, it just depends. You might be poly.
A terminology.
Okay.
Whole nother topic.
Watch if you know what a cuckold is. So all y'all done showed y'all true colors in here. That's all y'all done showed y'all whole shit. Okay.
We've already established that Heaux is life, so
Before we go, do y'all have any final words that y'all want to say, or any final piece of advice that you would give to anybody who's watching this and asking themselves, is the Heaux phase really necessary for me? What's the final piece of advice? What's the stamp you'll put on it for them?
Don't forget that you're an individual in every way. In every single way, you are yourself. So make decisions that are good and healthy and spiritually aligned for yourself. If it don't work for you, don't do it.
That's it. Shug?
I don't know how to follow that one. I mean, that one, any particular advice?
We could come back.
No, I would say, come back to me.
Okay. Marquis?
I would say, just go within. Self-awareness is key. It all starts from within. You're going to get all the answers you need once you do what you need to do. Yeah.
Absolutely. Imani?
Just know that there is no such thing as a hoe, but a beautiful sexual melanated being that you are exploring. And remember to be safe, and like Queen Joy said, to be spiritually aligned, like Queen Marquis said, is to remember like your status in the world. Remember, like girl, what did you say? Shit. You said so much.
Go within.
I said go within. And you say that all the time. I'm so sorry. Go within. And so I'm saying is that just remember that it is okay to have those feelings of it is okay to have those feelings to like and want to touch. I'm a touchy-feely person. I'm always touching something. Not everybody, because energy exchanges even when you touch or shake hands. So you have to be mindful of that and just be careful, because energy is real. And even with you exchanging text messages or phone calls, that shit is intimacy in the making. So be mindful of that shit. Be mindful. Even if you're in Texas, you ain't seen them in a minute. Be mindful. Be mindful. And enjoy yourself, YOLO.
Absolutely.
Can I add book recommendations to mine?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Okay. I was gonna say, you are a universe. You are a universe within a universe. You are your guiding star within the galaxy. Like we mentioned earlier, move wisely, move with integrity, be healthy, be safe, and be you. I will say, I think my book recommendation for conversations such as these, of course, would be Pussy Prayers. I'm sorry, I don't know the author's name. They are anonymous. It's a little purple book, Pussy Prayers. And I feel like that I would recommend for like the teen tween area. Like your 20s and everything, I would definitely eventually recommend Sacred Woman by Queen Afua, of course.
Beautiful.
And if you're in the wellness community, you already got those books. You should already have them and be well aware and well abreast of Pussy Prayers and Sacred Woman by Queen Afua.
Doing the prompts.
Absolutely, absolutely. My final piece of advice, along with what all these amazing sister queens have already shared, of course, as I said previously, being conscious about it, being aware about it, you know, being a conscious hoe, making this decision to govern yourself as you see fit. And as Joy said, you know, when you do that, you are already saying F patriarchal society, F double standards. I don't give a damn what nobody got to say and what nobody feel. I'm doing what feels right and what feels good for me. But also remember that you have the right to change your mind. You have the right to change your mind. If you get up and realize that, you know what, this really ain't who I am, and this really ain't what I want to do, you that day can decide to change your mind. Last but not least, please detox, 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 because you carry that energy from person to person to person. And beyond that, you are holding all of that energy within. Now, what you decide to do with that energy is up to you, because you have the power. You are an alchemist. You have the power to transmute that energy and turn any lead into gold. However, please detox that energy as well. If it is not serving you, if it's too difficult to transmute it, detox it. Take you a spiritual bath. Do you some vaginal steams. Make sure you are drinking your herbs. And don't feel bad about taking a break. You know, practicing celibacy sometimes. I don't care if celibacy for you is a week or you let that coochie cool off for 3 days. You know what I'm saying? Like, just take a break for a moment, for a minute. You know what I'm saying? And save some for you. Save some for you. That's what you got to do. Save some for you. And what some is up to you. It could be some mental capacity or some mental aspects of yourself that's only for you. But Maya Angelou, she said that all of us should have a little piece of us that's just untouched by anybody or anything. And that little piece of us is a piece of God. It should be something within you that nobody or nothing has ever touched but you. You are your own sacred space. Don't forget that. And maintain your space how you choose to. Clean your house how you choose to, but make sure that you are cleaning it according to your standards. Thank y'all for watching. I hope y'all are well. Thank my sister Queens for joining me. I appreciate y'all. Sugar Bones, Joy, Marquii, Imani, Latifah. I love y'all endlessly, and we probably gonna be in the group chat after this. But love y'all. Thank y'all for watching. Much.
Yes. Thank you so much.